Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, our guest is Dave Sherwin. Dave is a certified fitness nutrition coach, entrepreneur, and practitioner of mindfulness and meditation. His passion is helping grownups navigate real-world business and life challenges to achieve their best health and wellness at any age. He is also the creator and host of the Dirobi Health Show, which covers everything to do with health and wellness, including the latest in nutrition, exercise, supplements, and clinical studies. So without further delay, sit back, plug your earphones in, and let's jump right into this conversation with Dave. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Okay, Dave, before we actually get into the real, depth of our questioning with our guests, we always like to give them an opportunity to kind of introduce themselves, let the audience get to know you from your own perspective in your own words. So could you share with us a little bit about your journey, how it is that you got to where you are today as a fitness and nutrition coach?
Sure. Yeah, I've always had a passion for fitness ever since I was young. I was very awkward and shy as a kid. I didn't make many friends and I didn't feel very talented. And one day in elementary school, some kids were trying to dunk a small ball on a hoop. Maybe it was a golf ball or some small size ball. I don't remember, but they couldn't do it. And I was a little bit taller than the others, and I was able to dunk this ball, and they were so impressed. and at the time, it was my first memory of doing something that other people thought was impressive. And it started a passion for basketball, and through that, I was able to develop more confidence and finally work hard and make the high school team. I was never a great player, but it gave me a lot more confidence. It really helped me in those early years. And ever since then, I have just loved health and fitness. I continued to play basketball until I was 40, along with, I played basketball 3 times a week and I lifted weights 3 times a week. And that got me through to my 40th birthday in a very healthy way. After that, I couldn't jump as high, couldn't run as fast or play as well as I wanted to after I turned 40. So I started doing endurance sports. I did a lot of triathlons and running races and bike races and swimming, and that kept me going for 8 years about. And then I moved into CrossFit and just into general health and keeping up my strength and endurance through CrossFit. And so that was kind of my journey, kind of my fitness journey. And along the way, I was a real student. I've always loved learning about nutrition and fitness, and everything to do with the human body fascinates me. So hopefully that answers your question.
All right. Sounds good. So this was your destiny. You've always had a dream and a passion for this. So that's good to know. So our show is navigating the customer experience. And I think one of the reasons why I was intrigued to have you on the show, even though nutrition and exercise is not really directly related to customer experience, I do believe that your health and wellness will definitely impact the quality of the experience that you deliver to persons in any service industry, whether your industry is hospitality or telecommunication or the financial industry. I mean, if you are not well physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, then clearly it's definitely going to impact your interactions with others, whether it be internally or externally. I have a sister who is a dietitian. She lives in Canada now, and I've always thought that marrying nutrition and just being healthy and wealthy was a good way to really have like an all-around wellness approach to customer experience. So you don't just talk about the soft skills, but you talk about all the things that will help you to deliver better soft skills. So I'm not sure if you have any corporate experience, but could you share with us maybe some things that you think are integral for just for you to be really impactful as an employee in an organization, or even as a manager and a leader? What are some of the things that you need to do on the nutrition side or the exercise side that will help you to be able to really be your best self so that you can be able to have better relationships?
Great question. And to give a little bit of context here, business-wise, I've been an entrepreneur since 1993, and I've built and sold multiple businesses. And I have ran teams of salespeople and customer support, and currently own 3 businesses. And so these are things that are near and dear to my heart. So I love what you mentioned about marrying the physical side with the business side. That's something that I do in my own life and have had to navigate. And so, I do have a fair amount of experience in business,
Good.
and to this day, I like I said, I have my own companies, and for me, I didn't get into the health space as a business person until 2009, when I finally had the epiphany that you just kind of alluded to, that what I really love is health and fitness, and so why aren't I doing that for a living? And I started my first supplement company in 2009, and it went crazy. And one of the reasons I think it went crazy is because I loved it. We were doing over $100,000 a month in sales within 6 months, and it was the easiest business I ever built. And it was because I finally married the passions that I had. So I don't know if you want to comment on any of that before I answer your question more fully.
No, I think that's brilliant. I think it's good that you are able to see the correlation between both of them, and you are able to now create that opportunity for others to tap into. And so I think a big part of what our listeners want to hear, and I mean, you know, I we're going through a pandemic globally, and I mean, I've had these thoughts about nutrition and exercise for a very long time, but I think it's even more important now that people are just they're burnt out mentally. They're overwhelmed. They're working from home. They have to be balancing their family life as well as their business lives. And some of them are not adjusting very well to that new, the new normal, to, if, for a better way of saying it. And so, what has your experience been? What are some of the recommendations that you give them? I mean, sleep, sleep is important. How much hours of sleep should we be getting? How much exercise should we be putting in? What's the best type of exercise? As human
Wonderful.
as human beings, working from home, especially for me, for example, you spend so much time seated, and as human beings, we weren't meant to be sedentary. What's your recommendation in terms of just standing and moving around? Should that be done every hour? Should that be done, once or twice per day? We want your expert advice on how we can just be better overall.
Wonderful. Well, my first answer is one that I'd love for people to get more information of, and we give out some information on our website for free. You don't even need to enter your email address. So just simple click on it. It's a PDF, download it. And I'd recommend 2, and I'm going to say them and then I'm going to tell you about them. So for those of you who want to dive deeper and really get like a guide that you can sink your teeth into, go to dirobi.com. It's dirobi.com, and download the 10-page Undiet PDF. And that's the best answer I have. Now, I am going to go over the 7 points of that here quickly. Mm-hmm. But I do want people to know there's a resource that they can get so they can just read it. Again, you don't even have to enter your email. Just grab it, download it, and read that. And there's one on there called Virtuous Cycle. And the Virtuous Cycle is how to live a healthy 24-hour period. And it's very integrative of our physical, mental, spiritual, social, emotional sides of how we live 24 hours in a very healthy way. And between those two, those are some more in-depth resources. Now, I'm going to go through the 7 health tips that we teach our customers and that I'm a huge fan of and that I currently live by. And that is, number 1, focus on water as your primary source of food. Our bodies are made up primarily of water. We all know this, but getting dehydrated is quite easy to do. It doesn't take very long without water to get dehydrated, and too many people are drinking calorie-rich and sugary drinks. So cut down or cut out on unhealthy drinks. Even juices, a lot of people think fruit juice is healthy. It's really not. It's quite acidic and usually full of sugar. So focus on water, drink plenty of water. And there are 7 of these, and so I wonder, would you like me to list one and then give you a chance to comment, or do you want me to just give you the whole list? How would you like me to do it?
I'm sure we can discuss on each level. So after you finish the first one, if I have any comments, I'll definitely jump in. But go right ahead.
Yeah, so that was number 1, is water, and especially for those of you wanting to lose weight. Now, for some people in the pandemic, activity level has gone up. because they're outside more often, and they've taken to outdoor exercise as part of the whole social distancing thing, and it's one of the things they can do to not go stir crazy. Others, unfortunately, their activity has gone down, and so weight loss is currently a challenge. So getting rid of drinking calories would be hugely helpful if you're wanting to lose some weight. Number two, eat all your food slowly and mindfully. This may not sound like a big and important health tip, but it's number two for a reason. According to multiple PhD scientists and nutritionists who study the human digestive system, we eat too quickly. Our stomach is not like a hole in the bottom of our throat that we just dump food into and it just somehow magically gets processed. Rather, it has folds, and the food has to work its way through the folds. And not only that, before it even gets to the stomach, we have to chew our food thoroughly, work in the enzymes to that food, and then it comes to our stomach and slowly works its way through. When we eat too quickly, we don't give our digestive system a chance to operate. We don't get correctly, we don't get all of the nutrients out of our food. And not only that, but the hunger signals and the hormones like ghrelin that trigger fullness are not 100% accurate. They don't trigger our mind that we're full the second that we have enough food. Rather, it can be delayed as much as 20 minutes. And so if you eat very slowly and mindfully, studies have shown that you also eat less and are less likely to put on weight. So that's number two.
So stick up in there, Dave. So eat all food slowly and mindfully. As you're talking, I actually went to your website and I'm on this document that you have. And so when I was growing up, I don't know if this is applicable to all persons, but my mom used to say I'm to chew, I think it was 32 times. And I've tried that. I mean, I think by the time you're probably at chew number 16, the food in your mouth is completely liquid. Just explain that whole concept to me, because it just seems so...
Yeah.
And you're not really thinking about the food when you're chewing it, because you're just thinking about, okay, I need to kind of just get eating and complete this activity really quickly, especially if you're on the go, like you're driving and eating, or maybe you're trying to eating in between meetings because you need to jump back onto a Microsoft Teams call with a client, or you're doing a training session. So how do you suggest persons to overcome this and train their mind, because I guess it starts in the mind, to be able to eat food slowly and mindfully as you've suggested?
Well, you made a great comment about what not to do, and that is counting your no one's going to do that long term. It's kind of a pain in the neck. And the fact is that chewing until the food is about the consistency of applesauce is what we're shooting for. And for some people that happens quickly, others take a little more work, but it's the whole experience. Food is a pleasure of life. Now, we may not be able to do it always. There's always a time we have to rush to eat between meetings, as you mentioned, but there's 7 days in the week. And all of us have many meals that we could slow down and be more mindful. And so by mindful, I mean the phone is away. If you're with other people, you're with other people. Let's make eating a social experience, as it has been for millennia with human beings, and make it a time or your loved ones, whatever that is. If you're alone, like I mentioned, try to avoid distracting yourself from the food. Rather than looking at your phone or your computer or a newspaper or whatever, instead, just take those few minutes to really enjoy the food, to eat it carefully, mindfully, savor it, enjoy the smells, enjoy the taste. Too many people worry about what food is going to do to them instead of thinking about how enjoyable food is and enjoying what they eat. So it's a human experience that we've kind of lost. We've kind of let our busy lifestyles turn food into like putting gasoline in a car. And it just is better. Our life is better when we enjoy nutritious, healthy food slowly and mindfully. So it's a matter of understanding this is not an all or nothing thing. We can't always do it, but many meals a week we can if we're just a little bit more thoughtful.
Okay. All right. So number three.
Number three is intermittent fasting. We do really well when we eat in a certain window of time during the day. And a very practical one for a lot of people is about like 9 o'clock in the morning to have their first meal and 5 o'clock in the afternoon to have their last, or maybe it's 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock or 11 o'clock and 7 o'clock. That's about a 10-hour window. You can experiment with different lengths of window. Everyone's different. Everyone's in a different stage of life. Everyone has a different activity level. But generally speaking, There's a magic that happens when you stop eating any food after dinner, for one thing. For example, once we quit eating, our body gets to digest that food fully before we go to sleep. So our digestive system is now done, and our body is able to focus on getting rid of pathogens, carcinogens, and getting rid of that food and developing up the hormones and replenishing the brain and doing all those healthy things that need to be done at night. The hormones work correctly. When we stop eating at dinner time, the melatonin starts rising, making us drowsy, helping us get a better night's sleep. While we're sleeping, the HGH is rising, the estrogen is rising, the testosterone is rising, and the blood sugar is dropping. And we wake up in the morning, and that's an ideal state for some of our best work. And so let me give you an example of this morning. As I mentioned, I'm an entrepreneur. I get it. I get where you're coming from with your podcast. And you did ask me specifically, how have things changed with the pandemic? Well, here's how one thing has changed. And this goes also back to the comment you made about standing and about making these adjustments. So this morning, my workout consisted of 4 things. Today is a strength day for me. And I have a pull-up bar out in my garage for pull-ups. I have a dip bar right here in my office is also half gymnasium. I've got a rowing machine, I've got some kettlebells, and I've got a dip bar. And then I did step-ups. That's where you have a box and you just put your leg up on the box, and one leg at a time, you very carefully and in a controlled manner just lift yourself up. It's kind of like a squat, except I'd rather go down. You put one foot up on a box and lift yourself up, which you can also do in a chair. And then my last one was some core exercises, lying on the floor, stomach work. So each of those, I had to do 6 rounds of each one with a 2-minute rest. And so what I did is I went out to the garage and I did the pull-ups. Then I came back to my computer and I checked email, and I said I have my clock going, and I have a little notepad checking off how many sets I've done. Because I have a terrible time keeping track of that. I got to check it off. Once the blood gets flowing and you're got all this stuff going on, it's easy to forget where you're at. So I've got a little check mark here, a little pad of paper for check marks on my desk. Set of pull-ups, do some email. Set of dips, check email. Set of pull-ups, check my calendar and my daily MO. I have I call it my daily MO sheet, which is my daily method of operation, which has all my to-dos and everything on it. And so I'm going back and forth between, by the time I finished this workout, and this is kind of a long one, it took me an hour and a half, but there was a 2-minute break between everything. And by the time I got done my workout, I'd been moving every 2 minutes for an hour and a half, and I had got rid of every important email. I had my plan all laid out for the day and had accomplished 2 or 3 of my most important tasks. Some people call those trigger workouts. And these are things that you can do either the way that I described it or on a set schedule. Here's another one. For example, many fitness experts do recommend that we get up out of our chair at least once an hour. And that was part of a question you asked earlier.
Right.
Once an hour is a good standard. Guess what? If you're not exercising that much and you want to incorporate exercise into a very busy entrepreneurial lifestyle, there are 3 workouts that are surprisingly beneficial that you can do during your workday. One of them is squats. There's nothing like a good, controlled, good postured, deep squat. And if you had a timer and after hour 1, you simply stepped away from your computer and did, say, 2 sets of 20 squats. Okay, the heart rate is going to go up. It feels pretty good. Your brain gets kind of cleared after sitting for an hour and focusing on whatever you were doing. And then you set the timer for another hour. And the next time you do push-ups. Push-ups are a great exercise for the chest and strength of the arms, the triceps, the shoulders, and you do some push-ups. And the third one is any type of core exercise that you like. It doesn't matter. It could be bicycles. It could be some crunches. It could be any type of leg lift, depending, or mountain climbers. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of them. But if you combine some push-ups and some squats and some core work into your day, by the time you're done, and imagine you did some form of that or some little bit of exercise, or maybe, after you're kind of done enough squats and push-ups and core, after the next hour, you could go for a brief walk, maybe 5 minutes at a good pace. If you work in a building, you could walk the stairs, kind of aggressively, put something into it, put a little work into it to get the heart rate up a little bit. And so that is a wonderful way to get out of the chair, to get your workout in, even if you didn't get it done. You don't have to get up. You don't have to get dressed in your fancy yoga outfit to go do this, right? It's just whatever you're wearing, you just go ahead and do it. And so that's a great tip right there for keeping your fitness going.
Awesome. All right. So we're now at number 4.
Number 4 is eat healthy macros. The macros are carbs, protein, fat, and carbs, protein, fat are the 3 macros. And in addition, as part of those, we need to make sure and get 5 to 9 servings of vegetables per day. Now, too many people eat too many carbs and not enough protein, and often the fats that we get are unhealthy. So tip number 4 is to make sure that you're getting a healthy form of macro, protein, carb, and fat with a serving of vegetables with every single meal as often as possible. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Try to work in those all 3 at the same time to every meal. And if you can do that, and by the end of the day have eaten 5 to 9 servings of vegetables, that's a really great routine. And you'll have phenomenal health if you'll do that. And for most people, that'll mean they'll eat less unhealthy carbs, more quality proteins, and higher quality fat.
All right. And number 5?
Number 5 is observe a simple supplement strategy. The fact is that even if you eat really, really well, you're going to be deficient on some things. We know this from science. We know this from all the blood work that's being done on people right now. 76% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D. Similar percentages are deficient in things like chromium. Many women are deficient in iron, and so on. And so we need to take a good quality multivitamin, a good quality mineral and trace mineral supplement, and those are the very basics. Ideally, you want to get a nutritional blood panel done once a year. I do one once a year. I have for about the last 5 years. They're getting less expensive. The first time I did it, I think it was $500 for me to get a blood test done to find out my vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Now that $500 a year to me is well worth it, but happily, it now costs about $200. By the way, these are available easily and quickly at Amazon. If you go to Amazon and just search for nutritional deficiency test or something like that. And there's a variety. Some of them you send hair samples. Some of them are saliva. Some of them are urine. They all have a different way of doing it. Some of them are prick your finger and get a little bit of blood. And so depending on, if you got the heebie-jeebies about some of those, you pick the one that works best for you. So you just kind of determine how they do their sample and what you want to do and how accurate you want to do it, and pay a little bit of money, send it in, and they'll tell you exactly what you're deficient in. If you're taking a good quality multivitamin and mineral, though, hopefully it won't be very much. We have a phenomenal one, Mimi's Miracle Multi. Is specifically designed for what most adults are deficient in. That's why we designed it. And we have Mimi's Miracle Minerals. It has over 70 trace minerals. And so that's how we answer that for our clients. But those are the basics: a really good multi and a good mineral.
All right. And number 6?
Number 6 is exercise every day.
Every day.
Not 3 times a week.
7 days a week.
Day, 7 days a week. Now, again, this doesn't mean you have to get dressed in your fancy clothes and make a big deal of it and go out to the gym and spend a lot of time. You don't have to become a gym rat. But what we're talking about is our society has become too sedentary. When I mentioned taking a break and going for a walk, that counts, right? This does not have to be difficult. Our body, though, is not designed to sit, not even for 24 hours. If we don't exercise in a 24-hour period, we're not doing ourselves a favor. We have multiple systems that we need to look after. We need to look after our strength, our endurance, our general longevity, our balance, our speed, our accuracy. All of these things are part of how our body functions at its best. I'm 55 years old. I've got grandchildren, and I want to have great grandchildren. But I don't want to have them if I'm decrepit and unable to get out of a bed.
Right.
That's not the vision I have. And so I know that the way I take care of myself now is going to affect how well I am if I'm going to be a healthy great grandfather. And that's true for all of us. What we're doing today is setting the groundwork for how healthy we are in the next decade and the one after that and the one after that.
So, in relation to move your body every day, 7 days a week, your sheet says make sure even your rest days involve light activity. Can you quantify that for me? Let's say, for example, I normally go to the gym 4 days a week. Well, that's been my routine for the last maybe 3 months. So I go to the gym 4 days a week, and on the days that I go that I don't have any pressing meetings in the morning, I'll also do a 3 mile walk at a field that's pretty close to my home. Just as additional cardio. And because I have a back injury, I don't typically do any form of what would you call now heavy impact like jogging or running or anything like that. I just try to brisk walk for the 3 miles as much as possible. But then that's 4 days. But then there are other 3 days. Now maybe 2 of those days I'll do brisk walking alone because obviously I wouldn't go to the gym. But then on that 7th day, are you suggesting that I do additional activities? And if so, for how long?
Yeah, great question. And the answer is yes, I do. Even if it's yoga, another walk, mobility of some sort. There's all kinds of great videos on YouTube for things like mobility. Now, for example, if you go to YouTube, you have a back injury. I do as well. I have a condition in my back actually that gives me chronic pain, and I have to deal with it. And so I understand that. However, I've dealt with it much better than many other people have been able to do because of this routine. When my back is active and flexible, I have very little pain. It's when I'm not exercising, when I'm not taking care of myself, that it flares up. So if you go to YouTube and you search for exercises for back pain, that is a wonderful search, let me tell you. I don't know if you ever heard of foundation training. There's a really good 10-minute foundation training on YouTube for any of you that have back pain. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. And there's many others. As we know, there's many, many workouts that are available for free on YouTube. So yes, we're talking about light exercise, whether it's working on a pre-existing injury that we have, whether it's just working on general flexibility and mobility to improve our quality of life over time. Because as we know, if we don't work on our flexibility, it gets worse and worse as we get older. And as it gets worse, this is why people end up in a wheelchair often that are otherwise healthy. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So it's mobility, flexibility, yoga, very light, low impact exercise. Find something that you can do on your non-gym days that's very easy, but you're still going. You're still getting your heart rate up a little bit. You're still keeping yourself limber.
And the length of time you recommend for that? 20 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour?
I really don't recommend by time. It's really a personal thing. For example, Sunday is a very easy day for me. And I take my dog. We are lucky to live near a lot of farmland and dirt roads. And we'll just walk for an hour. And I love it, and she loves it. And there's nothing magical about the hour. And so I guess I would say make anything minimum 20 minutes. Under 20 minutes, we know that it's not doing our heart near as much good as it could. The American Heart Association encourage us to make sure our exercise is at least 20 minutes. So I'd say 20 minutes is a minimum. And of course, there's not really a maximum, especially when we get talking about hiking. Yeah. So yeah, let's just say minimum 20 minutes makes a lot of sense.
All right. Okay. And then our final one.
Get 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. This is one that entrepreneurs don't like. A lot of people want to burn the candle at both ends. Let me promise you, like I've been self-employed since 1993. And I'm telling you, you got to ask yourself this question. Is your lifestyle for your business, or is your business for is your business to support your lifestyle? This is a critical question. To me, when someone says, hey, family, I'm going to work super hard for 10 years so that we can have a really great life. To me, that is a terrible thing to ever say to a child or to think, okay? Those 10 years are going to go, and you're going to miss piano recitals and football games and dances and this stuff. And my motto, when it comes to family, my family comes first. My family comes before my business. My health comes before my business. So without my health, I don't have a family or a business. I can't serve anybody else. And the 7 to 9 hours sleep is foundational to our mind functioning at its best, to our body functioning at its best. And so those temptations, when you're thinking, oh, if I just get this project done, then I can go to bed. That's just a lie. These are lies. We are, as entrepreneurs, we are A personality go-getting hustlers, right? and we could work all the way up to the day of our divorce, right? No problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're wired for work, but we got to just step back and understand. Let me tell you a principle that has absolutely changed my life. In your business, there's probably only one and maximum two mission critical things you have to do today. If you ask this question, what is the one mission critical thing I have to do today that if I got it done and then I had a family emergency and had to go to a hospital for the rest of the day, my business would still survive, right? Like that's extreme thinking, but you get the idea.
Right.
Now, in my business, we use Basecamp. Each of our employees, we have this principle baked in. Basecamp pings everyone at 9 o'clock in the morning. It says, what is your one thing? Every single one of us has to plan our day around the one thing and do the one thing first. And we all have to tell each other what that one thing is, so that someone else might say, oh, hey, did you forget about this? Because I kind of think that in our meeting, we talked about this project and you're saying this is your one thing, but I kind of feel like you ought to do this thing, right? So by having some accountability and having other people do that, it makes sure that each person in our business knows what their mission critical, most important thing is, and they get it done first, okay? Now, once you've done that, it's amazing how much pressure comes off. And then from there, you realize that come 4 or 5 o'clock, you really don't need to work anymore. Like, you're never going to get it all done. That's just not reality.
Mm-hmm.
There'll always be something on your mind that you think is so important that you have to get done. The fact is, most of these things that feel so important, they're just not that important.
Yeah.
There's usually just one or two.
Very true. I think of all the ones that you've given so far, I talk the most about sleep. I'm a big, big, big supporter of sleep. I mean, I believe in the 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And I mean, I can't tell you how many customer service training sessions I've been on for leaders, for supervisors, for frontline staff, and people telling me they're surviving on 3 hours sleep or 4 hours sleep. And, oh, their body doesn't need that much sleep. You only sleep that much when you're a baby. And I'm like, no, like there's scientific data out there that proves that your body needs sleep. I mean, the reality is there's no cure for sleep but sleep. Like, there's no tablet for you to take to replace getting sleep. You have to sleep. When your body says it's time to sleep, it's time to sleep. And so I'm so happy that it's on your list. And I'm so happy that it matches back with what I've been saying for years. And I just want you to reinforce it again for me, Dave, because I just think people just don't recognize the importance of getting sleep. And as you said, the 7 to 9 hours of sleep, so important.
Yeah, great comment, and I agree. And one of the reasons why is because nutritional and fitness science has come so far in the last few years, and sleep and intermittent fasting are two of the newest to hit the radar. But as you mentioned, and because of that, many of us were raised to believe that to be successful, we had to burn the candle at both ends, that it was like some badge of honor to not get very much sleep. There's these groups where everyone, gets on Twitter at like 3:45 or 4:45 in the morning or something like that. And they feel so terrific because they're getting up earlier than everyone else and getting stuff done. And that's really great short term. Long term, I don't want to be that person, right? And I don't need to be that person. No one needs to be that person to be successful, whether with their health or with their business or in their relationships. As a matter of fact, as you mentioned, all the scientific data supports that we need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Now, that might be 7 for you. It might be 7.5. It might be 8. It might be 8.5. It might be 9. But don't think you're always the exception to the rule. There are very, very few exceptions to the rule. See, this is the other problem, right? Is everyone thinks that they're the exception. And in health and fitness, it's usually a lie we tell ourselves. We all want to feel exceptional. That's wonderful. At the same time, we should have some level of humility and accept scientific research that people do. As you mentioned, I have the Dirobi Health Show, and one of my favorite interviews was with Molly McLaughlin. And her tagline is "Sleep is a skill." And I had her on my show, and she's just excellent. And so for those of you that want more on this, I'd recommend that interview, or that you just look her up. She's got some of the greatest cutting edge information on sleep, and really up on all the studies. But the fact is, the other question I guess I'd ask people is why? Why do you think that you don't need to spend that much time in bed? Like, what is it you're trying to accomplish exactly? Like, if you have to work like 16 hours a day, the answer is why? Like, what are you working for? What's your goal? Again, business is supposed to support us. We aren't supposed to support our business. So you're doing something wrong, right? Like in 2015, Yannick, I took my family to Europe for 90 days.
Nice.
For 90 days, we spent time in Scotland and England and Wales, and then we spent time in Paris and in Brussels, and it was wonderful. And my business grew. Now, some people may not believe that, but from September to December 2015, my business grew while we were traveling for 90 days in Europe, because we created the systems, we had the staff, we had the ideas, we had this one thing concept. And so my whole business is designed to support my lifestyle. I take every Friday off. I love to golf. And every single Friday, I've got my little golf group, and we go out and we golf. And there's literally not been a Friday in the last 3 years that I can remember where my business took over that golf outing. Like, it just doesn't happen because I don't let it happen. And so, I realize not everyone loves golf, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Like, if your business isn't supporting the lifestyle you want, change it. do it differently, right? So that you can have the health you want, so that you can have the relationships that you want, so you can have a wonderful life where you see the world and do all these exciting things that life has to offer. And sitting at your desk is not it.
For sure.
Right?
Amazing. All right, Dave. Could you share with us what's the one online resource, tool, website, or app that you absolutely can't live without in your business?
I would say the one kind of philosophy or book that has changed my life more than anything else is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss.
Mm-hmm.
That book, it's a little bit dated now, so don't use techniques when he talks about advertising, that type of thing. But the underlying principles of what I just said about life and lifestyle and travel, that book teaches you how to create a business that can support a wonderful lifestyle. And I read it years ago. I think I read it in 2008. I don't remember, but 2008, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And as an entrepreneur, I'd say that book changed my life more than any other business book.
All right, good. So you actually answered. So that would be your resource that definitely helped you to get to where you are today, which kind of answered our second question: what books have had the biggest impact on you? So, do you have any other books that has impacted you greatly?
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill,
Mm-hmm.
I think is a basic self-development book that everyone should read. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey, I believe, is one of the best personal development and professional development books ever written. And then, so I'm sorry, I got your question kind of wrong. I apologize about that. So if I back up and talk about a resource, one of them would be the one I mentioned earlier, Basecamp.
Okay.
Basecamp is a very inexpensive tool, but I run my whole business using Basecamp. And so that to me is a absolutely essential tool.
Okay, awesome. All right, Dave, could you share with us what's the one thing that's going on in your life right now that you're really excited about? It could be something that you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
The one thing I'm most excited about at the moment is a transformation program that I'm doing for our customers. I've been developing it for a while. It's where I finally am getting to take all my years of experience and condense them and my certified health my health certification and put it into an app that I've developed. And we did our first run of the it's called the Dirobi Transformation Program earlier this year, and it was my first chance to really kind of put together a program that people took that involved all these principles we've been talking about, where every single day they get a ping about, a training, and then accountability. Did you follow the principles? And for 90 days, they follow this health journey. So that's been something I envisioned years ago, but the technology, I'm sure it was there, but I didn't know how to do it. And so finally this year, I was able to develop out a program to really take my whole business and my customer base to the next level. And the reason I'm so excited about it is because while I love making a living in the dietary supplement industry, which is what I do, it's not about me selling bottles to people to make a living. It's about health transformation. It's about the success that they have. It's about filling in those deficiencies. It's about them, right? So for me, I've never just wanted to be a guy who sells stuff in the health space. I want to be a guy who helps people raise their quality of life in the health space. And I've been doing it since 2009. But I feel like just this year, I'm actually getting to where my vision really has been leading me to, where I'm able to create something that's more than just buy the bottles, but actually take the bottles, understand how to use them in the context of these principles that we're talking about, and develop out the habits so people can go beyond weight loss, beyond yo-yo dieting, beyond thinking of health in terms of such simple measures as that, and instead achieve their ideal body weight, great energy, feel their best, look their best in a way that makes sense and that they can do long term. So that's it. I'm excited about it. It's still a work in progress. Like I said, I had one group go through it. From that, I learned a lot and I'm improving it. And from here on out, I see that being a real core part of our business.
All right. Sounds awesome. Okay, Dave. So our listeners would have tapped into this episode and they are piqued by all of the great insights that you've shared with us. They would like to connect with you further. Where can they find you online?
Dirobi.com, DIROBI.com. As a matter of fact, I do free 20-minute health consultations with people. I am a certified fitness nutrition coach. And for any of you listening, I love doing these. There's no obligation and they're not a sales pitch. I just sit and listen. And I've had some of the most wonderful conversations with people. I talked to a 74-year-old man in New York yesterday with some fairly serious health issues. And man, it was so interesting and fun for both of us. He wrote me an email later thanking me, and I was thanking him. For me, this is really fun when I can just talk to people and be helpful at all about their health. So at the resources page of Dirobi.com, you can either schedule a 20-minute consultation with me, and I'd love to do it. There's also these various resources you can download. And so our best stuff is right there, and that's how you can reach out to me as well.
Okay. Are you available, or do you have content on any of the social platforms outside of your website?
We do, yeah. We have Dirobi Health Instagram channel, and we have the same handle on YouTube and on Facebook. I've also got a private group on Facebook where I really interact more with people. And if you just search for the Dirobi Health group, that's a private group, but I'd be happy to invite people into that as well if they wanted a little bit more, attention as part of a group. So Instagram and YouTube at Dirobi Health, and I believe Facebook is our Facebook page. I think is facebook.com/Dirobi.
Okay. All right. Sounds awesome. Now, Dave, before we wrap our interviews up, we always like to ask our guests, do you have a quote or a saying that during times of adversity or challenge, you'll tend to revert to this quote? It kind of helps to get you back on track or get you refocused. Do you have one of those?
I'm going to change your question a little bit, and I have a practice.
Okay.
Rather. It's not a quote or anything, but I'm a meditation practitioner. I go to retreats. I meditate every single day in the morning. And one of the things I do is meditation, is walking meditation. And there is a poem by Thich Nhat Hanh that I recite as I walk slowly. So if I really need to get centered or, to answer your question, I go for a walk and I recite the poem. And now that I'm under pressure, I hope I can get it right. But it's very simple. It goes, I have arrived. I am home in the here, in the now. I am solid. I am free. In the ultimate, I dwell. And you simply breathe and walk slowly while you recite those words in your head. And I've been doing that for years. I did it just this morning. And it's a unique kind of a practice, but it's very grounding. He talks about kissing the earth with your feet as you walk and recite this little poem or couplet. I don't know what you even call it.
Right.
You just recite those words, though, as you walk very slowly and ideally outside. And it's incredibly grounding, that experience. I have walked for as much as 2 hours reciting that. And that probably sounds like the most boring thing ever to people watching. I'm sorry, listening. But keep in mind, though, I started my meditation practice a long time ago, and I was terrible. I mean, I couldn't sit still for like more than 2 minutes. My first meditations literally didn't last more than 2 minutes. It took me 2 years to work up to 10 minutes of meditation.
Wow.
And then after going through my first retreat, I really broke through to where I was able to meditate for longer periods of time and generally be more meditative and more mindful in my general living. So I guess that's my best answer is walking meditation.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, Dave, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule today to hop onto this podcast and share all of these awesome nuggets. I mean, on a topic that is near and dear to my heart, health and fitness and wellness, and just marrying that into customer experience. I really do hope that the listeners of this podcast gain some value that they can take back and apply to their everyday lives. I mean, even if they're not able to incorporate all of the 7 recommendations that you had indicated in the interview, maybe 1 or 2 just to start. I mean, the hardest part is starting, especially if it's something that you're not currently doing. So I just encourage everyone that gets the opportunity to listen to this interview to really take something away that can help to make your life better and, of course, enhance the experiences of the persons that you interact with on a daily basis. So thank you again, Dave.
Thank you. It's been a great interview. You're a good interviewer. I've enjoyed your questions and comments, and it's been fantastic and a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. So just want to remind our listeners, please feel free to hop on Facebook and join our private Facebook group, Navigating the Customer Experience Community. And feel free to follow us on Twitter at NavigatingCX. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant. We also have a new book available on Amazon, The ABCs of a Fantastic Customer Experience. It's available in ebook and paperback. So if you want to increase revenue in your organization, build a stronger service culture, and create employees or develop employees who are really mastering service delivery in your business, you need to grab a copy of this book. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.